Welcome, acolytes. Today I'm reacting to Legacy Gaming. Helldivers 2 is terrible according to those 1-star reviews. And this is actually quite interesting. I never seen something like that, just bashing reviews specifically. But I'm also gonna say, nice idea, to be honest. And yeah, I'm just gonna react to it, what they actually saying. And Legacy Gaming, by the way, freaking legends. They, like, if you want some really good guides, go to them. They are really freaking good at the entire freaking guide thing. So yeah, there's that. And if you asking yourself, hey, Graveseeker, why aren't you actually playing Helldivers 2? One of the effing best games ever that you definitively play. And I do play it. But I'm also very, very bad at it. So, won't happen that quick, to be honest, that you will see a video of me actually playing this game. Just because I suck at it. But, as it is, let's just start and see what they have to say.
First 2 is a terrible game. That's what these 7 reviews on Steam would lead you to believe. Obviously, our team loves this game. We have loved it since day one through all of the trials and tribulations of server issues, connectivity problems, you name it. We have still pushed through and loved this game, but not...
Yeah, and by the way, he's correct about that. If somebody says that Helldivers 2 is bug-free, that's bullshit. It has a lot of bugs, it has a lot of server issues, it has a lot of those things, but the game itself is so good. It's so good that I honestly just don't give a fuck. It's that simple. It's really, really that simple. And I still love it. It's just so effing fun. Oops, this was a mistake. This was a big mistake. Yeah, and it's so fun. It's just so nice. It's so well done. There is so much love done in it, and it's just funny. It's simply done in a way that if you see the clunkiness, the entire thing actually you just say, yeah, that's just the word. It's effed up. It's just the word. It's okay. It's funny. It's fine. It doesn't matter that much. Yeah. It's just fun. It's beautiful.
Not everybody thinks that way. And so I wanted to dive into 7 negative reviews that I could find on the Steam page because, believe it or not, there are people who don't like this game. But are those opinions valid? Well, of course they are. They're opinions. They can believe whatever they want. But let's sort out the fact from the fiction because there is plenty of fiction within these 7 terrible 1-star reviews.
I bet there's a lot of fiction in that one. Because damn.
So this first review comes from a Ghost IRL with 1.7 hours on record. That's going to be a factor later on. They say, had some fun ideas like using directional codes for the artillery support and reinforcements. The shooting was alright as well. However, the missions were just running between places and there's a lot of travel time with nothing happening. Game just ultimately isn't for me. Okay, let's start with that last line. Game is...
I'm gonna throw myself in it before I actually hear him talking about it, because at the end, this review isn't that bad, to be honest. It's fine. Like, he just said, yeah, it's not for me. And that the missions are basically just running around. I mean, more or less. But he definitively actually didn't get a lot of things done. Because you can do way more than just run around being a little fuck. And yes, it might sound actually funny that I actually half agree with the guy, but at the end, it's not that it's just not entirely true, it's just he doesn't understand the game, or he just doesn't like the loop of the game. So, not that bad, to be honest.
Just not for them. Perfectly acceptable. Now that that's out of the way, let's look at the rest. Missions were running between places and there's a lot of travel time with nothing happening. That makes...
No. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Nope, not true.
Makes me believe you were playing on difficulty 2 or 3, and as we all know, if you go on 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and of course, level 9, you are always going to be in the heat of the action, and that's where things get really fun. I was running some 6s last night with some friends, and I still had a blast because I was constantly being overwhelmed with enemies.
Yeah.
Honestly,
no, even on the lower difficulties, it's not that you don't have any kind of bugs. Yes, you have downtimes. I'm gonna agree with that. You have downtimes, but it's honestly not that bad that nothing happens. And if you play on the lowest difficulty, you actually want that. Because for me, it just doesn't make sense. If you actually playing on the lower difficulties, you are agreeing to actually having a easier time. Well, that's at least how I see it.
Joel is up to some crazy shit because at one point we had 4 chargers on a level 6 at one time. It just fell completely off. I do like them calling out the directional codes because that is a true Helldivers staple. If they don't have it patented or copywritten at this point, they should, because it's a really cool idea. I don't know if any other game has ever done that, but it's very much a Helldiver unique feature.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next review. This comes from Narcoleptic Cat with 10.3 hours on record. Not bad. Not that good. Grindy.
Yeah.
Gunplay is floaty and sloppy. Controls suck. Does not support DS4 wireless. Looks pretty epic when you call down explosives, but other than that, it's not worth the anti-cheat it comes with. Who are they protecting exactly? Now, there is a lot of drama around the anti-cheat that the team uses, and I am not technical enough to be able to explain that to you. All I know, based on everything I've read, is that the anti-cheat does give root level access, and that's a huge issue for other people. And I get that. I don't really have state secrets on my computer, so it doesn't bother me, but I understand why this would be an issue for some people. Now let's get to the top of this review.
I mean, this isn't even that bad of a review. I would agree with them in as far as actually that this could be an issue for somebody, just because, well, I didn't feel that good myself after seeing the anti-cheat for that thing, so no complaints there, honestly. Like, I not particularly like, I'm still gonna play it because fuck it. But I agree with that statement, actually. Like, what the F? I thought that this will be more shit-talking, but the reviews until now aren't... Well, they aren't the best, but, you know, it's fine right now. It's not that... Yeah, it's okay.
Not that good. Okay, that's an opinion. That's subjective. Grindy. I do kind of agree. It is very grindy, and that's the whole reason why there is a quick, fast XP grind in the game right now, because it takes a long time to grind up levels. Gunplay is floaty and sloppy.
Grindy, yes. The other thing, no. The gunplay is nice. It's really, really nice. What the F is wrong with you?
Let's dig into this one a little bit. I do think the gunplay is very unique. It feels different than pretty much every other game that I've played in third person. You have to remember, this team had to code not only third person fighting, but also a first person shooter experience, and honestly, I think they did a pretty good job. The recoil feels very much more realistic than in other games, other modern milsim games where things are just laser and super tight. I feel like this gunplay feels a little bit more what I guess you could say organic or natural gunplay would be. There's
yeah, more or less, yes. I would fully agree with that, because it feels nice. It feels, what could we say? Maybe a bit floaty if you go for the 3D thing, but otherwise. But I also cannot speak that much about it because I don't play shooters normally, and the ones I played, well, it was actually quite fine. I still cannot say anything negative about it, I don't know.
Certainly a floatiness with the actual implementation of the third-person shooting. You have your main targeting reticle, and then the reticle that follows all of your motion. So it does take a minute to get used to, and that does feel a bit floaty, but once you get used to that, I think personally, things feel really good. I don't necessarily know if I agree with controls suck. What does that actually mean? I play on a mouse and keyboard. I've never had any control issues. Yes.
Yeah. Never got any myself, so...
There are certain things that I don't like, specifically around jumping and vaulting and trying to climb up on things. It's a bit frustrating, but ultimately things are...
Yeah, the jumping and vaulting is clunky. It is clunky, definitively, but honestly, it's not that bad.
Pretty good. The next review comes from Toluca with 97.7 hours on record. After spending almost 100 hours in this game and reaching level 50, I have tried a multitude of guns, and I can say that the latest patch has missed the mark. People were using the railgun and breaker not because of TikToks and YouTubers, but because they were solutions to the problems of level 7 through 9. With constant waves of heavily armored chargers and Bile Titans, you need a weapon capable of dealing with them. With the latest patch, there is no longer an effective and fun answer. Now I'll pause right...
And no, you don't know the weapons. I'm gonna say though, definitively, that some weapons are better than others. Definitively, that's not even a question. But it's fine. Not that bad.
Right there, because I think Toluca absolutely hits the mark based on the first balance pass that the Helldivers team has just implemented. Chargers are currently the biggest sticking point in the game because we no longer have a viable option for dealing with them. Yes, you can make the argument that a recoilless rifle or an arc thrower will get the job done, but when you're dealing with half a dozen of them at any given time, oh yeah, and not to mention the 3 Bile Titans right behind them, well now you're looking at how effective can you actually be in that situation as opposed to just running away. And I think that's really where the balance of this game has shifted.
Okay, I'm gonna say yes. He's probably correct about this. Yeah, I think I changed my mind about this. Because at the end of the day, I know the game as it is from a standpoint of a beginner, and I never had to deal with 1 or 2 chargers at most. Never was a thing for me. 2 in a team, yeah, 2 was the most, and it was fine. I didn't actually find it that bad, to be honest. But in the end of the day, if you have a lot more of those, then I can imagine that it's a big problem.
Well done.
Because, and I am a total beginner, I actually don't have everything unlocked. And right now how I deal with charges is basically with a orbital strike. And it's not even like I'm still missing sometimes. The giant bazooka that I bought was totally useless, that I'm gonna agree with, definitively. But yeah, but he says, yeah, if it's a higher level, probably, yeah, no, I will just say, okay, he has way more experience than me with that, so I'm just gonna agree with it too, because, well, yeah, I'm just gonna agree with it.
Shifted. Before, you were able to somewhat stand your ground and deal with the threats at hand. Now, a lot of the endgame tactics are just running away from the problems and hoping that eventually they leave you alone. It's just not that enjoyable, and that is at the heart of our argument. Anything that was underpowered or underperforming should have been brought up in line with the things like the railgun and the shield generator pack. Things that were performing well, people were having fun with. Well, you take those tools away, you do take an element of the fun away, and that's exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Now let's look at the second half of this comment. After reading some comments from the Arrowhead development team, it is clear they are hyper-focused into their "a game for everyone is a game for no one" mindset. While this is and can be positive in some areas, wanting their player base to be miserable and purposefully struggling with difficulties they themselves added. A dev even said they felt horrified we reached harder difficulties. If they revert the change and buff other weapons, I would gladly keep playing. Now, there is one thing about staying true to your values. If you truly want to create a ridiculously hard game, just look at From Software, right? All of their games are ridiculously hard.
Yep.
But they understand that the player is at the center of that experience, and you have to balance the game with all types of players in mind. Is a game...
I mean, I disagree with that. You don't have to balance it in all players in mind, because I'm gonna be honest, From Software didn't actually think that players will, how can I put it, From Software definitively didn't balance it around people who just don't want to invest the time in their game. They didn't. It is what it is. But I'm also fine with it, to be honest. So, yeah. But you have to still balance it in a certain way. I totally agree with that. Because in the end of the day, it just has to be fun. It has to be fun. That's the main thing. If it's fun for the core player audience, you will always have players, or most of the time, of course. At some point, it will get boring for some players. That's normal. But nah, you just don't have to. You just don't have to.
Like Elden Ring for truly casual players? No, absolutely not. But it's also not out of reach, and that's currently where a lot of folks feel that the level 8s and 9s are, especially on the Terminid side with so many different changes impacting that front specifically. When you're staring down half a dozen Chargers and Bile Titans, what are you supposed to do when your options are suddenly limited? Yes, there are still other options in the game, but you took away a huge tool from the tool chest, and that's what Toluca is talking about. I truly hope the Arrowhead team really pays attention to this community because it is far larger than the Helldivers 1 community.
Yes, and it's also fun. Ooh, that's actually quite hard. I mean, the first reviews really aren't that bad. Really aren't that bad. It's really understandable where they are coming from, like for the most part. As I said, I'm not an endgame player right now, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. I don't find it that bad right now. By the way, I am on level 4, so there's that.
When you have 10,000 players, it's a little bit easier to wrangle, a little bit easier to find the pulse of what's going on in the community. When there are 400, 500,000 players and a lot of them vocal on social, that is going to be very challenging for them to manage. This game should be for everyone. It should not just be for a small subset of super hardcore players. I get the desire to create a really challenging game, but you have...
No. That's actually... The thing is, the game doesn't have to be for everyone, and I'm gonna stick with it until the end. And it shouldn't be for everyone. It should be for those people who actually have fun with it. And yes, but the thing is, if you make a hardcore experience, and I'm gonna say it, maybe it's a bit controversial for some people, but Dark Souls isn't hardcore. It's very hard. It's not hardcore. If you actually have a hardcore experience, you won't have as many people because not a lot of people actually like hardcore stuff. That's a really, really small percentage of people that actually like that stuff. And it's fine. It's totally fine. I mean, not gonna shit talk that. It's totally fine to 100%. So yeah.
Have to look at the success of the game, and one of the core reasons for that is its accessibility. Check it out, guys. Today's video is made possible thanks to Factor. If you don't know about Factor, you should, because they're delivering fresh, never frozen meals right to your doorstep. 2 minutes. That's all you need to cook a delicious restaurant quality meal. How do I know? Because Factor makes it that simple. You wouldn't believe how much better lunchtime is when you actually have time to eat the food you make. What honestly blew me away about the food was how many options there are to choose from. Over 35 weekly meals that you can pick based on what you like to eat. You've got keto, calorie smart, chef's choice, vegan and veggie options. There is some...
Thank you.
This next review comes from Madman10MJ, 0.8 hours on record. They say, I bought the game, went through the tutorials, joined my first mission, and was kicked. I joined a new game, got in my pod to start, and was kicked. I decided to kick the game and get my money back. Don't bother unless you have a dedicated group to play with. It's a waste of money otherwise. This one, I feel it. I understand. Right now, there is a huge issue with players that are leading groups kicking other players.
Oh, yeah, that's actually... yeah. But it's also a player thing, not a game thing, so I really don't think you can actually even really stop it. But it's just... I had it in World of Warcraft. People are just so full of themselves. For no effing reason. ugh, damn, that's really... But I also, to be fair, yesterday, I had 2 people that just helped me for no reason. They just went in. I was like, nah, I'm a freaking noob. I don't know what I'm doing. If you wanna do this stuff, sure, but I killed a guy freaking 5 times in a row, so... And he still was in. The other guy was also in, so... Yeah, it was... For me, the experience is on a 50-50. On the one hand, it's fine if people help you, but if you go in a random group, don't bother most of the time. Just don't bother. It's sad, but it is what it is.
There's nothing in this review to really lock in why this person was kicked, but I can imagine being a new player trying to get into this game and being kicked non-stop 3-4 times. I'd be done too. I totally get it. Now, this was posted on March 2nd, so all of the issues with the game have pretty much been ironed out. So why is this player getting kicked? It's hard to say. There is a lot of elitism. There is a lot of issues with, honestly, coming from the player base right now, kicking other players. And we talked about that on a few other unscripted videos, but truthfully, this is going to be an issue long-term for the game, and there needs to be some guardrails so that new players coming in don't get immediately blacklisted by players that have 100, 200 hours in the game. This game needs to be accessible to new players, especially around new content. When you think about new players, once they announce something like mechs or tanks or crazy new weapons and whatever, you're going to get a flood of new players that want to jump into the game. Yes. And if the entrenched players, the people like myself and Livid and the rest of the community who have 100, 200 hours in the game, are not inviting and accepting of those players, well, they are going to have a terrible new player experience. And we do not want that with this game. I don't mind standing up for the community and saying we cannot allow that kind of toxic behavior to prevent new people from getting into this game.
Yes, but at the end, I don't know how you even can fix that. How can you fix that? I don't know. Because in the end, the players actually decide what they want to get and what not. What they want to get into and what not. And that's the problem.
Remember what it was like for us the first couple hours with this game, how exciting, how fresh, how new it felt. We don't want to be the reason why other people can't have that experience. So truthfully, I feel for this review. It is not a statement of the game necessarily. Sure, maybe he ran into some issues, but it's more of a reflection on the community and how we don't want to be perceived moving forward. This next review comes from Tanal, 19.6 hours on record, and this is very similar to what we just talked about before. While the first 20 hours were fun, once I got into the hard level difficulty, the meta purism ruined it for me. If you aren't using what is considered a meta build, you are either kicked before the mission starts or kicked when the shuttle lands, just to troll you.
Nope. If you use a minefield, FU. Because no effing body knows where the minefield came from after a while. You're gonna die. Just FU. If you use a smoke bomb, FU. Why? Because the smoke bomb, most of the time, is just useless. FU. And this is as a totally new player. I don't have shit, I just informed myself for a freaking second. That's all. And even if I see someone with a freaking minefield, I'm gonna say, hey, change that shit. Or kick him. Because fuck him. Just fuck him. Except I play on the... not on the 4th difficulty if I'm playing on the 1st or 2nd. I mean, then I don't give a fuck. But smoke bomb in minefield, no go. Absolute no go. But I'm also a bit lenient on the minefield. Or at least how I did it was I asked, hey, is this for a daily? Is this for a daily? If there came a yes, then I'm... yeah, okay, good. We're gonna play around it. Because playing around this shit is just so effing annoying. And I know it's harsh, but yeah, sorry. It's just... at least say that you're gonna do a daily, the daily with it, and nobody will care, and everybody will be okay, good, let's just coordinate it a bit better. Just talk to people.
Now, this is absolutely true, and as of today, March 6th, when recording this video, this has been a huge issue in the community. Part of the balance pass that recently was introduced is to break the meta. And while I don't necessarily agree with that, what I do agree with is that the community side of this issue was incredibly toxic, and it needs to be quashed however possible. If that means breaking apart the meta and no longer creating that single build that is almost quote unquote required by some players, yeah, I'm okay with that, because I don't want anybody to be kicked just because they're playing a certain way. The last thing I want is for somebody to be excluded because they're not using the meta build. Sure, if you're outclassed and doing a level 8 or a 9, but you really should be doing a level 4 or 5 based on your skills, well, that's another issue entirely. But if you're being kicked or trolled just because you're not using a certain weapon or loadout, well, that is a huge issue. And clearly in Tanal's case, that was enough for them to be frustrated and not recommend the game. That is a community issue manifesting itself as a negative review, which is not a good look for the Helldivers 2 community. All right, this next review comes from AlloyFan1001, 22.2 hours on record. I am beyond livid at this point. These live service always online games are so disgustingly piss that I start to wonder if there's any hope for the future of gaming. Everything is constantly online, everything needs a server, everything wants to milk you dry, both your wallet or your time are in their sights. I hope you enjoy constant crashes because you'll be seeing a lot of them. And I hope you didn't want any rewards for playing a full half-an-hour mission, collecting all manner of valuable materials and progressing the war, because it'll crash in the final 2 or 3 minutes and boom, you get nothing. There isn't any way for the game to check off your progress as soon as a main objective is complete. There isn't any way for it to remember what you had done just before the crash. I have wasted hours of my life playing this worthless game, only to have their blank system crash and render it all completely worthless. It would be more productive for me to stare at a wall for 3 hours because maybe I would have thought of some interesting idea or had a revelation in said time. I am this close to uninstalling this. They get one more shot, one more. I need 2 rare collectibles to get my upgrade, and I need to simply complete 1 stinking mission to finish the sector, and I can't seem to get a single mission done without it crashing. What a waste of a weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, the server issues are real. They are better now, but it's still real. So you can actually just, if you have issues with that, just don't even bother, because yeah, that is fully true. Again, one of those. F you for this shit.
Don't buy this until they iron out the server issues. Man, that was a doozy. The thing that actually I latch onto first is that the person is saying they are this close to uninstalling the game, but they haven't done so yet. Why is that? Because Helldivers 2 is a really good game. Now, the only part of this I really want to dive into is about the live service elements of the game. Yes, Helldivers 2 is a live service game. The game is going to continue to expand. It is always online. And yes, there are server issues, but a lot of the FOMO elements that have been associated with live service games have been completely stripped out. War bonds will never expire. You could pick this game up in 6 months and all of your progress on a war bond will still be there. All of your
I didn't know that. It's bad, but I automatically assumed that it would just expire and I didn't even bother with it. So, damn, that's good. Okay, that's nice. That's very nice. So they went the freaking Deep Rock Galactica route. That I'm happy for. That I really find really good. That's nice.
Progress for your ship upgrades will still be.
So yeah, in this specific case, if you cannot wait for this shit, then it's on you. Just don't pay money for it. Just because you want something right now, is it worth for you? And if it's worth for you, okay, that's fine. That's on you.
Be there. You are never going to miss a thing. And that is such a huge key detail with the live service model that Helldivers 2 just understands. The team has also said they are never going to make any of those premium items have any sort of gameplay implications. Yes, some armor in the Superstore has stats, but those stats are identical to items that you can get.
And by the way, the stats are irrelevant right now. I don't know if they maybe fixed it today, but most of the stats are irrelevant. Specifically the armor stats don't stack correctly
Through the other war bonds, so you're not missing out on anything. I think we are demonizing live service games to a point where we're forgetting that there is nuance between them. This game is very different than Suicide Squad, and we have to remember that. Not only is Helldivers 2 have a very good experience, but they're also stripping away some of the elements of live service that people hate. Yes, there are server issues, there continue to be some connectivity issues, but they are far from milking the players dry, as this person is saying. So
yes, the only thing that Helldivers actually do, now that I know the entire thing, that it won't expire, is basically just going for the impatience of a player. And in my opinion, that's if you're too impatient to unlock this stuff, that's on you. That's fully on you.
I want to make that really clear because Helldivers 2 is honestly injecting a lot of freshness into the live service model that has sorely been missing.
Yeah.
All right, the final review comes from Illest Fool, 8.2 hours on record. This game has way too many difficulty levels. Too many players are spread out over them, which is why it's hard to find a full group with so many players. There are very little weapons available in the game as well. You will use the same weapons forever once you unlock the few that will keep you from dying. This makes the game feel very boring, and every mission starts to look and feel the same. You either shoot spitballs at the enemy or you use the one gun that works. There is something here worth playing, but if this is a good game, the standards are very, very low. Wait until you see a patch that improves the weapons and difficulty. We did just see our first balance pass for Helldivers 2, but do they address everything that Illest Fool is talking about? No, they don't. On his first point, I don't really see the issue here. If you are playing this game, you should be looking at the Galactic War map, using the indicators on the map to determine where players are actively playing, and then using Quick Play to find yourself a group. Of course, you can jump into your own mission and throw down an SOS beacon, but I've still had shoddy results with that. To say that there are no people playing this game and it's hard to find a group is just not been my experience, because there are hundreds of thousands of players playing across PlayStation and PS5, and as long as you have crossplay turned on, I have not once had an issue finding a group. Even if I was PC only, there are still 300 to 400,000 players every night, and it hasn't been hard to find a squad to link up with. On the matter of weapons, yes, I agree with Illest Fool to an extent. There are still weapons.
The only thing that he's maybe correct about is if you're on a lower difficulty level. Because I only started to getting actually people after I was difficulty thing 4. That's when people actually start coming. Lower difficulties, I was basically out of it. I didn't really have anyone there, so yeah, maybe I don't know, like my experience isn't that bad, to be honest.
Weapons that are vastly superior to other weapons in the game. I think of things like the shotguns, which were just nerfed, but are still baseline better than some of the marksman rifles in the game. I would love to see things like the marksman rifles and even the submachine guns brought in line with some of those best performing guns so that players have...
Oh yeah, and by the way, I actually forgot to say this. If you're doing balancing like that, and you have those things, don't nerf the good weapons, except they are literally overpowered. Buff the bad ones. Now why buff the bad ones? Well, because the good weapons still are fun. The bad ones, well, they gonna get fun. They gonna be fun after they do, after you actually buff them, or give them the thing that's necessary, because there are just weapons that aren't as good. Or, and I mean, it's not even bad that you have weapons that actually are relatively bad. I don't find it that problematic, to be honest, because there always will be some weapons that are better than others. And that's just how it works, to be honest. And yeah, as I see it, that's fine.
Options across the board. The answer, in my opinion, is to not nerf what's currently there so that everything is performing equally bad. It's to bring the underperforming things up so that everybody can have fun across the board.
Yes.
The goal at the end of the day is fun, and that's only going to get more challenging as new weapons are introduced into the game via war bonds and additional content. I cannot wait for new weapons to get added into the game, and if the leaks are anything to consider and take seriously, we've got weapons like exploding crossbows that are coming relatively soon, and that's something to get excited about. Yes, I agree, not every weapon in the game is performing equally, and yes, there are only a few that I would consider good enough to keep you alive in some of the harder difficulties, but to say there is only one weapon that will keep you alive is not quite right. Alright friends, that was 7 1-star reviews from Steam.
This was quite fun, I'm gonna be honest. Like, okay. And the reviews weren't as bad as I actually thought they would be. So, yeah, not that bad. Not bad at all, to be honest. Not bad at all. I'm baffled that they actually showed reviews that aren't totally toxic. I'm gonna be honest, because most people do them, but I find them fun, like deconstructing them. But those reviews were actually most of them were quite fair. So, well, as it is, acolytes, good night.